All right, here we go. Another edition of Muki and the Bull in the basement. Muki's in his WUFO studios. He is the sports director at WUFO Radio and a favorite of all the media members. A lot of the Bills players and coaches too, man. You're like their buddy. Like they love you. Like you watch some of the pressers and like Josh is like, "What's up, Mook?" Like you're like you got this vibe going on with the players and the coaches for the Bills. It's really cool, man. I'm envious.
Hey, man. Hey, I'm just being myself, man. Sometimes that might ruffle a few other people's feathers, but oh well. They have to get over that. But I can only be myself, man. How the Bills say, they allow me to be the best version of myself, and I'm me. So yeah, the players, they do draw to it a little bit, and I have relations with quite a bit of those guys, off camera. So that's where that comes from as well.
Yeah. Oh, good. So obviously the last time we talked a lot about the Super Bowl, and I'm not even gonna start with I'm gonna start here. As we talked about the Bills, I tweeted, I can't tell you how long it's been that I've wanted a quarterback like Josh Allen, who not only has the skill set, but also the personality where he is beloved by pretty much anybody that's a football fan, like the Bills or not,
Right. Yeah, just the whole Super Bowl weekend just showed you that. Like, he was the most, celeb out of all, even the starting quarterback to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen was the most talked about quarterback, at Radio Row during the whole Super Bowl festivities. So, he turned into a media darling in front of our very own eyes, right?
Yeah, he sure did. He is, let's be honest. Aaron Rodgers has his moments, right? Aaron Rodgers can be funny. He can be quirky. He can tell some sort of bad jokes and play with people and, banter with some comedic intent. But I'll tell you what, Josh doesn't fake it. He's just a good-natured kid. You know what I'm saying? And you could say, when they asked him about the 13 seconds and they asked him about the coin toss and all of that, I thought it was hysterical. And he just played right along. And, some people asked him, it's like, are you still bummed about it? He goes, yeah, well, of course. But, it's the 24-hour rule, even though I know for those two particular things, 24-hour rule doesn't really exist, all things considered, because we all played that game when we were watching the Super Bowl. If the Bills were only here, right? So anyway, right. I'm loving that dude. I'm loving that dude.
It was good to see that, he didn't face the humility with it. It had some fun with it in the same time. So I think that, America fell in love with him, during that whole stretch, how he can take that, and have some fun with it and joke about it. Because you look at, like you said, Aaron Rodgers, the difference is Aaron Rodgers, 35 and Josh Allen's 25. So he's the next up and coming goofball on all the quarterbacks that, that's, the star in the making. So that's, what this era is, They're young, they're goofy, they're quirky, but on the football field, this guy is just a complete animal. So, he definitely is the next up and coming, and I'm quite sure he's going to be addressed by a whole bunch of endorsements coming his way very soon.
Yeah, you wonder why it hasn't happened sooner than now, but now it's like the guy was in Hollywood at his best, right? So how could he not get noticed by somebody out there and take advantage of his personality? He was great at the Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, and again, to go away from the game, who else I was really impressed by? I was impressed by two of the Rams. I was impressed by Kupp, and I was impressed by Andrew Whitworth. When I watched the award shows for OPOY and for Man of the Year, Walter Payton Man of the Year, and all, obviously big props to our boy Horrible Harry Phillips. Those two guys, their speeches were so, you use the word humility. They were so humble in their acceptances and so gracious to everyone around them to help them be who they were,
Right, absolutely. Then when you look at Horrible Harry, you're right. Horrible Harry was Andrew Whitworth 10 years ago. To the point where he had guys that he sat and talked with as young football players, aspiring football players. A guy approaching him to say, "Hey, you used to sit and talk with me when you was in Cincinnati, bro." Like, so that goes a long way. That those talks and those impressions, just having take time on your off day to come and do that for them. Look how instrumental that was. For that kid was inspired by that, and he took whatever Whitworth taught him and told him, used that, and became who he was to get to the league because of that. You know what I mean? So, man, if that don't get you man of the year alone, you know what I mean? We're not even talking about what he's done community-wise from his hometown to Cincinnati to Los Angeles. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I couldn't be mad at either way. You know what I mean? I'm rooting for my guy Horbury to get it. But when they broke down everything that Andrew Whitworth done, and then how long he's been in the league, it was more so well deserving of that award.
Unfortunately, the speech I listened to growing up was actually I didn't pay any attention to it. Was fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. I didn't hear that. I didn't take it to heart clearly, and I should have. I'm an idiot. Anyway, Muki and the Bull in the basement. All right, let's get to the game. We both had the Rams winning last week, but and you liked it to be a close game, but I think we both thought it was going to be a little bit higher scoring than it was. In fact, do you do any of the are you doing any of the online gambling? Are you DraftKings or Caesars or anything? I mean, do you do any of that?
Yeah, I went down to the Seneca Casino. I put a ticket in. I had a few tickets, but my closest one was the touchdown score. You know what I mean? I had Cooper Kupp, I had OBJ, and I had Jamar Chase. I went with the usual suspects. I should have went with T. Higgins because I knew that, the type of scheme they were scheming around him, but I was like, he'll at least might get that one-on-one matchup, and they might take that shot. They took the shot, but he fell out. You know what I mean? So that ruined my money there. And then on my other tickets, I thought Blanton at least was going to get 29 yards. He ended up getting a shoulder injury and don't play anymore. And so that kind of ruined everything on that ticket. But it was a defensive ball game. If you took any running back to go over, they didn't go over.
Yeah, Cam Akers killed me.
So, yeah, right. They was stout against the run on both sides of the ball. So defensive ball game. I did predict the score 27-23, I think. But nevertheless, I knew it was going to be a close ball game, and the Rams will squeak it out. Great Super Bowl. You want those games to be close. You don't want a Super Bowl to be one-sided. You know what I mean? In years past, it doesn't seem like the other team belong there. Once if it's a one-sided Super Bowl. So as expected, it lived up to the hype. It definitely killed the elephant in the room about Cincinnati being there. They was well deserving of being there, obviously, because they had the lead until that last drive. Cooper Kupp came alive, Stafford came alive, and Aaron Donald pretty much took care of the rest after that.
Okay, so I want to have this conversation when the Bills beat whoever they play 41-17 in the Super Bowl and see what you say then.
Yeah, we can have that discussion because that should definitely be one-sided when the Bills play.
Okay,
that definitely should be one-sided.
That's the only time it's okay. All right, fair enough.
It's the only time it's okay, right?
Well, I tell you what, arguably the best part of the game, the game was all over the place, right? I mean, you get OBJ with a great fast start, and then he gets hurt. I mean, my God, you go from I don't know where I sit, publicly in terms of this sentiment, and I've never really been a huge OBJ fan, but I'll tell you what, man, I was so happy for that guy landing in Los Angeles. I was sad for Robert Woods because it was Robert Woods' injury really that brought OBJ there. But man, I was so happy to see him be productive and look like the guy that made him the great player that he was and became in New York, and that he just completely, underperformed in Cleveland for whatever reason. There were probably many, and maybe too many to even list. And then he goes to Los Angeles, finds a niche, finds a spot, finds a home, produces, and does early in the Super Bowl, and then blows his knee out. We all know now, torn ACL, but man, I was so bummed. I felt so bad for the guy. And just the raw emotion after the game when they won, I was really impressed by, because I loved seeing guys that really pour so much hard work into that, and then they get the return from it, and it shows. Like, I really appreciate that. I part of me wishes, I would have liked Matthew Stafford more if he had been less sort of matter of fact of winning the Super Bowl, right? Maybe he was in shock. I don't know. Maybe he's just not an emotional guy. That could be. But I would have liked to see a guy that spent 12 years in Detroit with nothing, despite putting up great numbers, and then in his first year in Los Angeles, in his home stadium, winning the Super Bowl, to have a little bit more emotion. I don't know. Just call me
right. I was
sappy,
hoping like he would have like that Steve Young moment, like, when he just like, nobody can ever take it away, like, because you've gone through all that stuff you went through in Detroit, man. You never would have thought that you would have had this opportunity, but he was, he's like real nonchalant about it, like, okay, yeah, no look past, yeah, what I do.
Which, by the way, that was one of the greatest. That was one of the greatest plays in Super Bowl history. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh yeah,
that was unbelievable.
That's why they traded Jared Goff, for Matthew Stafford, because he can improv that way. Goff can't make those type of throws, and then that's a lot of pressure for somebody to do, especially in that situation. Yeah. I mean, that take a lot of cojones to do that, especially over the middle. But the veteran, remember we talked about that veteran and that experience, looking that way, holding that safety for that split second, knowing where your guy is going to be, and putting the ball in the right area for him to just run underneath it and catch it for a big game. Definitely the biggest play of the Super Bowl by far.
How much were you thinking on that final scoring drive of the end of the Bills game, right? When it was Kupp. Guys, what are you doing? Did you not watch the AFC Championship game, right? Did you not see the best Chiefs players take advantage of exactly what Kupp did in the Super Bowl?
Right. And, he was out there by himself because everybody was hurt.
Yes.
So, man,
how are you not triple coveraging that guy? Like bumping him. Yes, bump him at the line of scrimmage, and then whatever you got to do, bracket, like enclose him in a bubble. I don't care something. God. Yeah. Because they had nothing. They had no other weapons to throw to. But Jefferson's okay, but he is nowhere near the level of probably the other 6 wide receivers on the field that started that game, right? I mean, he's probably the sixth of the 6. So they had nothing, and there's the Bengals letting Cooper Kupp run amok on that winning touchdown drive. I'm just
and talk about defense wins championships, and Cincinnati defense pretty much lost that championship, gave it back to the Rams defense, and the Rams defense pretty much closed it out. Cooper Kupp just proved that he was uncheckable the entire season. You know what I mean? Like, I don't count where as a game did he score a touchdown or a team stopped him from getting over 100 yards. This is probably his lowest receiving yard game with 92 yards, 8 catches, but he scored twice. So it's like they did a good job of minimizing his productivity, but in that last drive, it was all him.
Yeah, it was
pretty much got him the MVP. We could argue between the two, Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp. If we can make a pitch and say they both deserve it, you can go co-MVPs like how they did back in the days with the Dallas Cowboys. I wouldn't be mad at that, because when you look at that drive, it was definitely on Cooper Kupp. He caught everything that was thrown to him, even the ones that they was taking back off penalty. But I mean, you can't discredit what Aaron Donald did on that final drive neither. I mean, for him just to stand out alone, making back-to-back plays like that, that's pretty much unheard of as well. I mean, and then Cincinnati, I know Zach Taylor has probably got the biggest bottle of alcohol he could possibly think about, and wondering, like, why in the hell I didn't have Mixon out there for 1 yard.
Yep.
I didn't get that either.
I mean, Muki, this is, and I was thinking all of this stuff too. On that particular play, if you watched it before the pre-snap, and I don't know the relationship between Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor. I just don't. Does he have the ability to audible out of stuff when he feels comfortable doing it? Because I'll tell you what, on that 3rd and 1, I think, I'm not 100 on this, but I think T. Higgins was the X, and the closest defender was like 7-8 yards off of him. Get the snap and throw it there. You're going to get a yard automatically. Automatically. So change out of that run play because you're running right at Aaron Donald in terms of the design. And I know P. Ryan's 245, whatever, but man, you have to adjust to the moment. The other thing I thought in the Bengals' final drive where they were poorly coached. So forget about. So there's two things: no Mixon and no audible to the throw out on that one particular play. Letting Cooper Kupp run rampant. I think another problem in that final Cincinnati drive, I think it was the third play of that final drive, where they ran off, I want to say like 30, 35 seconds. I'm like, what are you doing? You got more than enough time. Call Tyler Boyd's drop, another big play, right? I mean, there were so many things that occurred in that final drive that really nailed hammered the nail into the coffin for the Bengals there.
Yeah, we're talking about embracing that moment, and we're talking embracing that moment with the level of veteranship and that experience. And that experience carried the Rams over the hump. Then you saw Cincinnati probably have one of their worst drives of the game. You know what I mean? In the clutch moment right there. I mean, I thought they was going to go 5 wide and just let Burrow just pick his spot like they did before. They went 5 wide, let the lane open up, and he just run for a yard and slide. They did that before in the game. So I figured that they would probably do that in the game. But once again, the inexperience, those guys is, just being very young and green in those situations. Like I said, he got that big old bottle, just woulda, shoulda, couldas right now. You know what I mean? That's what happens. That's definitely what happens. And if they had a chance to do it all over again, I'm quite sure they'd do a lot of things different.
I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, this is just me being weird, but I felt like Burrow was always too close to the center in the shotgun. Like, what's coming at you. They're unblockable. Take 2 steps back and give yourself an extra maybe half second to survey the field and make a throw, because you probably saw the still shot. It was all over the place on Twitter on the final play when he gets sacked. That was it Chase or Higgins, one of the two guys, was wide open down the right sideline. If he had a half second longer. Yeah, right? Wide open.
Yeah, Chase was wide open. Chase was wide open, but Aaron Donald beat our guy, Quentin Spain, one-on-one, and it was just over. You know what I mean? Like, how can you come off so clean and free, that quickly, in that situation? The shoulda, coulda moment, he could have just did a quarterback keeper there and kept the drive alive. But, it's something definitely to build from. And, I don't know if they're going to get back. Hopefully the Bills can, have something to say about that next season. But, it was definitely Cincinnati had a shot. It's not like they didn't move the ball. They started from the 25. They got all the way to midfield. But that last possession, they just stalled out for some reason. Not having the right personnel out there at the right time. And like you said, not the right calls in that situation. So, that's definitely something to learn from and build from if they do get back in that situation. Hopefully they know how to handle that going forward. But
yeah,
tough deal for the Bengals.
So for them to go back or have the success that they had, Burrow is certainly capable, and his receiving core is certainly capable. And Mixon is fantastic. I think he's super underrated. They got to figure out a way to protect him, right? They got to go out in free agency or the draft. I don't know how many picks they have or how far into the cap they are at this point. But man, if I'm them, based on the investment they've made in Burrow and in Chase in the last 2 years, don't you have to audit? Like, it's no brainer, right? Like, yeah. I know their defense wasn't particularly great. They're kind of middle of the pack, but my God, when you're investing what they did in Burrow and Chase, you have got to figure out a way to protect that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they have Jonah Williams. I think he's in his second year or third year. I'm not sure, from Alabama. Then you got Quentin Spain on that left side. The right side is definitely where the problem lies. I think those 2 guys are backups. So, they need to definitely address that right side of that line, whether it's in free agency or the draft. And you probably want to get another tight end there as well. Because, their tight end did have an injury, but, he was able to, play, maybe a little bit more productive, but you make sure you cover your area there with some quality depth at tight end. Receivers, they're pretty much set. They don't have no issues with the wide receivers or the running backs. So, they don't really have to do too much tweaking. They just have to, get some guys up front to help keep the quarterback upright.
I know a lot of people made a lot about the officiating, the missed face mask, Higgins on Jalen, and then the sort of phantom holding call or interference or whatever it was over the middle on Logan Wilson. I hated that call. I think most people hated that call. But what most people have been saying is like, okay, all of a sudden with, 2 minutes left in the game, the officials are going to wake up and start calling stuff. Like, where they been? What was your takeaway on the officiating, especially those couple of calls?
They let them play until, it was time for them to control the game. And, in that instance and in that situation, in the first quarter, I might not call that. But when the game is on the line, they got to call that. Your hands can't be all over the offensive player of the year in that situation. It's going to draw a flag. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? It's just going to happen that way. Especially, they're in LA, a little home cooking, if you will. But, that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? A linebacker matched up against Cooper Kupp, and that guy's really checking him like that. It's some grabbing and some pulling going on. What they didn't see, the fans didn't see, with his right hand, he had a good tug of his jersey from the front. You know what I mean? So that's what the referee saw, and that's what drew the pass interference there. Because I think it was two calls. One was a pass interference and one was a holding. I think that was the pass. No, that was the holding that didn't warrant a first down. I just got them half the distance, and then they end up getting another pass interference, which gave them a fresh set of downs, which led to basically the game-winning score.
Yeah, which was an amazing, perfect throw from Stafford to Kupp there in the front corner of the end zone. That was gorgeous. So, I think my only theory as to how they might have missed the early face mask penalty is because there's no officials really in the middle of the field. Like, they moved the umpire behind the line of scrimmage years ago. I say put him back there, man. So you can actually, if the umpire was where he used to be, which is basically some depth from the linebackers, right? If he's there, he's basically parallel to that play. He just turns his head to where the ball's going. He sees that, he flags that, where the side judge is not seeing it because it was on the other side of where he was standing, right? So yeah, that's what I'm a little, that's one thing I would change if I was the officiating crews. I would go back to that, having the umpire being behind the linebackers and having a different perspective of offensive line play, and then kind of everything around you in the middle of the field. What do you think?
Okay, I put it. You got it.
Mookie's on the run.
I hear you, bro. I'm moving around. I'm just moving around in the studio.
Right.
I had to stop the podcast from recording.
That's all good.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you hit it, bro. I mean, it's just a tough situation, and you wonder what is going on in the mind of Jared Goff.
Right.
We're like, I mean, he has to be the sickest guy, in town. You know what I mean? I'm going to trade you, and then they make you feel like, damn, I was the weakest link because they brought this guy in and resurrected his career, and he led them, to a Super Bowl. So, I mean, and you was drafted #1 overall, for crying out loud. So, hey, just kudos to, Sean McVay and those guys and the front office for making that move.
So people have said I'm Sean McVay's doppelganger. Like, I could be his older brother. Like, I hear that all the time. My niece saw him on the sideline in the game and went crazy. She's like, there's Uncle Bull. Oh my God, it's Uncle Bull. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like 20 years older than that dude. I'm pretty sure. No, not 20, 15 years older than that dude. So I don't know if I look exactly like him. Maybe a little, the hair, the beard, maybe. But,
No, he looked like you, bro. Let's get it right. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean? He tried to get your swag a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's just he's just on a bigger platform, man, to act like he did it first. But I'm quite sure he was watching a few Bull in the basements, and you know what I mean, get the hair and the beard thing going on for you, bro.
Well, I'll tell you what, the guy's never contacted me, not once. So shame on you, Sean McVay, if you're watching this, like Muki thinks you have been over the last couple of years.
That's right. He owe you a check, man.
That's right. That's right. I am your inspiration, Sean McVay. Okay, so a couple of other things people have been talking about out of the game. I know I was watching because I have nothing else to do in the morning. I was watching Get Up, and I get up with my wife every morning. I make her breakfast and get her lunch ready to go for work and the whole nine, right? And then I stay up. I have my coffee, I get a bagel and whatever, and I'm watching. Usually, I watch Get Up with Greenberg and whoever else is on, right?
And all those guys. Yeah.
And so Orlovsky goes out and said, I think it was Orlovsky said, or somebody else maybe on Twitter said, Aaron Donald's top 10 all time, or maybe the greatest defensive player all time. You and I are about the same age. You're younger than me, I'm pretty sure. But what do you think about that? Because I was thinking about that last night without even looking at names, just out of my brain, thinking if Aaron Donald is top 10 for me, he's like 10, right? I mean,
right.
I'm just
right.
thinking,
He can't be no higher than 10. He just cracked the lineup.
Right.
With that performance on Sunday, he just cracked that lineup. As being top 10 all time, that's pretty big things to say. I know sometimes people just be in the moment and they say anything. You know what I mean? Sometimes they just say anything. You know what I mean? Because once again, they had the platform to do it. But I think he was reaching there a little bit.
Yeah, I do. I don't know, man. I actually did a very impromptu little poll on Twitter, and we know how Twitter kind of works one way. And so same thing. Twitter tends to be kind of sheepish. So if somebody says one thing, everybody kind of go, hey, woo. So like somebody said Aaron Donald was top 10 all time. So I don't even know how many votes I got on the stupid poll, but like 91% agreed top 10 for sure. Like, I don't know.
So that means Von Miller must be 9 then. If he's 10, then Von Miller must be 9. Because I mean, right now he has a Super Bowl record for most career sacks in Super Bowl history. So where do you put Von Miller at? I mean,
and he was an MVP of the Super Bowl which Aaron Donald wasn't. Although you said yourself, you could argue that he could have been, but yeah. And and by the way, I if you asked me if I thought Von Miller was top 10 all time, I'd say absolutely not. Really good, really nice player, right. But I don't know if I would put him top 10.
Right. I don't know if I would put Aaron Donald top 10. What are we basing this on?
Right.
Are we basing this on Super Bowl wins? Are we basing this on performance, on how you play? Are we basing this on for career sacks? What are we really basing this on?
Yeah. I mean, his trophy case is loaded, with his Pro Bowls and his All Pros and Rookie of the Year and blah, 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 blah. And now he's got a ring. And that is kind of what it's come down to, right? Especially with now we can segue to Hall of Fame. There's a lot of people saying that the Hall of Fame is getting really watered down. I maintain, and I don't know about you, but I maintain, listen, if you are Hall of Fame worthy, you got to be a guy that the average fan talks about, right? You got to be that good that the average fan knows who you are. And no disrespect to Sam Mills or Bryant Young, great players when they played. But I'm not sure average fan was talking about Sam Mills and Bryant Young like they would, Reggie White or, fill in the blank Hall of Fame players that are already in. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of skeptical. It was a lot of Sam Mills flag, but you got to sometimes look at the narrative and where they're trying to go with this. You got Sam Mills, who's deceased. You got Cliff Branch, who's deceased. So, I don't know, maybe they got a little bit more in their feelings and reference. Okay, let's get these guys in. That was some head scratchers that people were talking about, because when you look at the overall numbers, he don't have the overall numbers, don't have a Super Bowl victory. So what garnished the induction?
And even Richard Seymour, I know we despise Richard Seymour because he sicked on our Bills for a very long time. But again, I wouldn't, you look at those Patriot defenses, he was a really nice piece of those defenses, but you always who'd you talk about? You talked about Ty Law pretty much all the time with those Patriot defenses. Richard Seymour was in the conversation, in the discussion, but average fan is not being, Richard Seymour. You know what I'm saying? I mean, granted, these two of those guys are interior defensive linemen who a lot of time don't get play anyway. So I understand that argument if you want to make it. But for me, the Hall of Fame has got to be where not only you have the stats, but you are more than your stats. You are impactful on so many different levels in so many big games that I don't know. I just don't feel like most of the, Seymour and Bryant Young were those guys. Again, I can't disrespect what they did in the league. I can't disrespect their rings. I can't disrespect their stats because they were all fantastic. But were they, game breaking, game impacting regularly guys? I don't know.
Richard Seymour was a beast, though. Richard Seymour was a beast. He was a dog at what he does. But I mean, when you look at all the other finalists, like how come Devin Hester didn't get it? How come Torrey Holt didn't make it? These guys who definitely stood out. I mean, Devin Hester, pretty much single-handedly shattered all types of special teams and kick return records. I mean, got to a Super Bowl and returned the kickoff in that Super Bowl. But
I was at that game. Yep.
And then what Torrey Holt did, So I'm not understanding. Maybe this was the dry time. This was the dry time on Super Bowl inductees, and they get back to the mainstay criteria of what it really means to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame. I just felt that they just wanted to get this one out of the way. It's kind of like a boring class, if you would say so. It lacks the star power, if you will.
For sure.
Yeah, when you look at all the stars that went in last year, what a hell of a class last year was. So I guess that kind of takes the luster off of this year's class for sure. So this was kind of like a poor man's Hall of Fame and enshrinement.
I know people are talking about Stafford too, Hall of Fame, because his number. So I guess the debate is, and Stafford goes against everything I just said in terms of, or I beg your pardon, supports everything I just said. Stafford was a guy that, you draft in your fantasy league because he was going to get huge numbers in Detroit, but they wouldn't win. They weren't, but Matthew Stafford was not discussed like the top 5 quarterbacks in the league really ever. And for my argument and my point, doesn't a Hall of Fame quarterback got to be that guy? I get it. When his career is over, his stats are going to be sick. Like he's going to be top 6 probably or whatever statistically. He's got the ring to go to boot. So how do you Frank Gore, I know has been talked about in the sort of the same vein where he's a guy that wasn't necessarily flashy, but my gosh, you can't argue his numbers. He's got to be in, right? So
he got to be in. He's definitely got to be in. With
so
those
Stafford's got to be in solely because of stats, and the ring helps, right?
The no look help. Everybody gonna remember that no look, man. That no look got him in the Hall of Fame because it was a Hall of Fame play, and they won the Super Bowl because of that. So all the interceptions, all the hell that he went through in Detroit don't matter. I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he'll definitely get the nod at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you think about the halftime show?
I love the halftime show, man. I love the halftime show. Whenever you can get, that California Love with Dr. Dre, Snoop, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, 50 Cent, It was very eventful. It kept everybody, rocking and rolling and getting everybody amped up for, that second half. So I think it was a great way to pay homage, with it being on the West Coast and, how instrumental Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg has been, in that way, representing the West Coast. It was only right for them to, perform that way.
Yeah, I'm a guy who is like, I want to see the Super Bowl halftime show be like the opening ceremony of the Summer and Winter Olympic Games, right? Like I need like humongous. I need over the top ridiculousness. I don't even care how good or bad the performance of the performers is. I want just like Katy Perry, some people would argue absolutely sucked in her halftime show at the Super Bowl, but everything around it was magnificent. Like, didn't she ride in on like a giant elephant or something that was like 30 feet high or something? Like, it was like that for me was crazy and cool and weird and stupid and silly and great at the same time. Like, that's the kind of halftime show I love. And I also like Lady Gaga. I love Lady Gaga's because she was like somehow went from like the roof of the stadium and like flew down to the floor of the stadium somehow magically. Like just stuff like that are the halftime shows that I really get into. I will say though, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this halftime show is the best of all time," and I can't agree with that only because I was at the Miami Super Bowl. I saw Prince in the rain, in person, do Purple Rain in the rain.
In the rain.
In the rain. I mean, that can't ever be beaten. That wasn't like some fire trucks from like all the right moves, spraying, water out of hoses to make a football field all muddy for Tom Cruise in high school. No, that was like Mother Nature, like working in sync with the song. That will never, ever happen again. It's got to be the first one or the best one.
Yeah, that definitely hands down. I don't know how can you duplicate, Prince, the artist formerly known as, you know what I mean? So yeah, that definitely ranks up there as one of the best ones by far. But, nevertheless, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, that was a pretty good one. I wouldn't say how everybody said, oh, it's a top 10 of all time, but, it was a great performance, and they put on a great show.
You know who I was really bummed out for? And I said, I had a small group of people at my house watching the game, and I go, I know that dude. Who's that dude playing the drums? I know who that is. That dude's famous. Like, I know who that. It's Anderson .Paak, who's a mega star who nobody talked about. I felt so bad for that dude. Like, he's a star, and right. he's so crazy multi-talented. And I felt like he got like nothing, no props at all from anybody, or very little from what I saw on social media, which blew my mind.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They don't, I mean, you figure that Dr. Dre would give, shout outs to all those guys that was on those ones and twos playing in the background. But, yeah, I guess, they like to be, unrecognized or whatever the case may be. If you know them by face, then you know them by face. But yeah, Anderson .Paak definitely didn't get recognized or, didn't get put on blast for even being out there.
Everybody talks about, duplicating seasons and getting better and this and the other thing. We know what the Bills schedule looks like. Holy cow. I mean, they're road games, right? It's going to be crazy next year with their road games. And then, we're still pretty unsure as to what the roster is going to look like. We think it's going to look primarily the same, but Trey White comes back. We hope he's 100% or close to it, right?
Right.
Is 39 back? What's it going to look like on the old line? What's it going to look like in the D line? 39's not coming back.
I don't think he's back. I wouldn't pay him to come back. That's just my personal opinion. I wouldn't pay him to come back.
You talked in our last go around that you and Bean are pretty tight. So knowing Brandon Bean, what does he go out? And I know historically he's not been the guy that pulls the string of the big trade, obviously except for Diggs. Or goes out and get a big signing free agent, right? He just doesn't do that typically. He builds through the draft. But this is the last year before Josh's contract kicks in with a gigantic salary cap hit, which basically doubles the salary cap hit. Not this coming year, but the year after. So this is it. If you it's not like you can save this money and then save it to next year. It won't apply. So if you're going to spend any money, if you're Brandon Bean, you got to spend it now when you can, right? I mean, and if that's the case in free agency, like for you, where are you going? Like what position are you aiming at?
Well, I mean, you got to look at it. Either cornerback or receiver. If I have to choose right now, it'd be either or, but it's definitely needed at the cornerback position because I'm not going to pay Levi Wallace $5 to $6 million per year to put that out there. I'm not doing it. I mean, the Bills brought him back because obviously, he didn't get what he was looking for in the free agent market. So the Bills brought him back to run him back, at a lower tier, 1 year deal. Okay, he's boosted that up to, like I said before, $5 to $6 million per year. So who do you spend that money on? Do you spend it on bringing Horrible Harry back? Do you spend it on re-signing Isaiah McKenzie? What do you do with that money? I think the Bills need to make a splash, another splash trade. Don't give up. I wouldn't give up my first round pick. I wouldn't give up my second round pick. Maybe I'll give up that second round pick for next year. Probably I think the Bills have a extra 6th round pick and a 7th round pick. Maybe you can package those up for a 2nd round pick in 2023. Me, I would go after Greedy Williams. I'll go after Greedy Williams from Cleveland. He's like the 3rd, 4th quarterback for Cleveland. I think he's had 1 year under contract. They're not going to bring him back because they have 2 number ones, playing on the outside. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. He fits the scheme. Played alongside Tre'Davious White at LSU, so we already know that LSU cornerbacks fit what the Bills do. They play the same type of defense at LSU that Coach McDermott covets. So why not go after a guy that's a little bit more physical, a little bit more faster, and has better ball skills than Levi Wallace. And he's seasoned. He's not a rookie coming in, so you don't have to worry about him trying to learn things on the fly. He knows tendencies of guys that he's played in the NFL. And, it wouldn't mind having, to play with the guy that you played with in college, Davis White. So make that splash that way. Go get a guy from another team. Make a trade happen. You still got your first round pick. You still got your second round pick to go ahead and address whatever you need to address. Maybe at that point in time, go get you a receiver. I like Jamison Williams, even though he tore his ACL, but the Bills don't have no speed. And we got to match fire with fire. If we're going to get over this hump, we got to have some speed out there on both sides of the ball. And Jamison Williams obviously is going to stretch that defense when Stephon Diggs is being doubled and you got Gabe Davis isolated one-on-one. Cole Beasley, I think he's going to be a salary cap casualty this year. We appreciate his services, but it's time to move on from that. You know what I mean? So what do you do there? Do you use that money to bring Isaiah McKenzie back, or do you let Marquez Stevenson or Tanner Gentry or Kumaro, play out for that position? But Kumaro is a free agent as well. So either you get a guy like Jamison Williams, or Kansas City is going to pick him up, and now you got to deal with him being speedy and fast, and then go along with, Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman and Travis Kelce. So you got to fight fire with fire. So I'll see the Bills. If I was a GM, that's the things I'll be looking at. I mean, obviously, they can go D tackle if Jordan Davis from Georgia is available. They might go that route, but I need a guy that's going to be an impact right away. You know what I mean? So either a cornerback or receiver will be the twos that I'll be trying to address.
Yeah. I did a mock. I'll just read it to you real quick. Not that it means anything, but I try and do like a mock every day just for fun. I have them taking Kenyon Green, the guard out of Texas A&M, in the first round. I just think, I think I might have said it last week, but put a wall up in front of your guy. I'm sorry. Don't let Josh Allen. I mean, granted, he does a lot of great work on the run. Maybe some of his best work is on the run when he's out of the pocket. It certainly is. His highlight reel plays generally are like that. But my God, I'd rather have him be able to sit in the pocket and make some throws there, not risk injury. And with that, I decided on a guard in the first round, which I know goes against a lot of people's thinking. Like you said, people want speed on the outside. They want someone in the middle of the D line, ideally. So I took him first. I got Brian Asamoah, a really active, athletic linebacker from Oklahoma, second. Marcus Jones, corner out of Houston. Here's your running back, Rashad White out of Arizona State. Really like him. They need another guy in the backfield, obviously. I think going down to history, Muki, here's my crazy prediction for the rest of everyone. I think this year's draft will be the year of the tight end. I know that sounds crazy, but what player over the last 5 years, what position over the last 5 years has developed to a point where if you have a dominant tight end, you are probably going to be a dominant team, right? I mean, think about the great tight ends and the teams they're on. They are on good teams. So I'm looking at this tight end draft. Holy cow. There's a kid from UCLA who's fantastic, kid from Nevada who's fantastic, a kid from, I think, Iowa who has churned out tight ends. We all know that year after year after year. But there's a lot of really good, active, athletic tight ends. And I think this might be the year of the tight end. So I got the Bills taking a tight end to help out Dawson Knox on the other side and give them another throwing opportunity and blocking opportunity, obviously. Then I got two wide receivers in two of their last three picks, Calvin Austin from Memphis, Danny Gray from SMU, and I threw a center in there from Notre Dame. Morse is aging. Want to have another big guy there to back him up just in case. But anyway,
Patterson.
Yeah, yep. So I don't know, just silly mock draft. And everybody's doing them. Why not? What the hell? But I'm excited.
I mean, everybody, we mocking now, baby. I put my 1.0 out, and I think I had Patterson on that board. I had Patterson on there. I mean, because you never know. Mitch Morris could be a salary cap casualty. They might ask him to restructure. He's due to make $11.5 million this year. So I mean, the Bills are going to have to ask for some of that money back to some of some of the high-end players, or restructure, or we have to release you. I mean, I did. What is it? if you release Cole Beasley, you save $6 million. If you release Daryl Williams, you save $7.5 million. If you release AJ Klein, you save $6 million. If you release Matt Hack, the punter, you save $1.25 million. If you cut Mitch Morris, I think you save $6 million. If you ask Starler Tulare to restructure, you would come out better on a restructure with Starler Tulare rather than cutting him this year. So you have to ask Starler to restructure his deal, and you'll save, I think, $3.5 million there. Other than that, he's going to cost you anywhere between $6 to $7 million on that cap space.
Eek.
If you were to release Starler Tulare.
Eek. Or we pressure him into retiring or something. Which I listen, that's not nice. I no disrespect, but he's not. He's really just not been dependable.
Hey, I'll be in Indianapolis in a couple of weeks, so I'll be giving you all the great insight of what's going on, what they're talking about, and I'll be live down there to find out what's going on, who these players have been talking to, because they always give you the hint on teams they've spoken with. So it's going to give you kind of idea of what the Bills are looking for and which route they are going in reference to, who they're intending to draft, or just the positions that they are modeling to, help this ball club for the next up and coming season.
Yeah, Sue's got the best poker face too, right? I mean, these guys are always lying to us all the time when it comes to the draft. Like, oh yeah, we're not going that way. Then of course they go that way, and then of course we're going. Then they go the other way. I mean, if you're good at reading poker faces, Muki, have at it, buddy, because they're going to be putting all of those on that week when you're there. What's your best 40 time?
My best 40 time,
yeah.
Or
your best
personally?
40 time? Yeah.
4.43.
Shut up.
Nope. That was my best 40 time in college. I ain't running that crap right now. But my best 40 time was a 4.40.
And that was the guy that was going 1,000, 2,000. That was before stopwatches even existed.
Yeah,
so very unofficial.
It was clocked. It was clocked. Okay. All right. Definitely clocked. It was up in college, and it was definitely clocked. So I was kind of stoked at that, because my high school time was dismal. It was like a 4.6, and I knew I was faster than that. We ran on gravel in the back of Seneca. So I'm like, come on, this can't be my 40 time. I know I'm way faster than this. So when I got to college, and I trained and I worked out before I actually got to 40 time, and when I got clocked, it was a little bit more like it. 4.43. That's a little bit more me. But Muki, I'm not running on 4.43s now.
You are so comforting, my man. And here's why. Because my 5.9 40 was on a cinder track as well. So I clearly am faster than that based on your science. So that makes me feel so much better about my slowness. Very quickly, I'm wearing. So I'm always been a Celtics fan. They're not very good. They're and boy, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I love Kyrie Irving. Like, he's my favorite NBA player. Politics aside, I think that guy, he can shoot. Okay, he's a terrible defender. I understand. But in terms of handle, ball skills, shooting, creativity, that dude is money all day long. I'm sad he's not playing full time. I wish he was, but whatever. So I have my NBA on. Okay. Who got the better deal in Ben Simmons Harden?
I think for the now, Philly, but in the long run, Brooklyn, because you get Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons needed to be developed. He didn't get developed right. Yeah, is the potential here and all that good stuff? It's definitely there. But you still have to develop that potential and bringing it in. I mean, the first couple of years, he mediocre coaching. We don't even know who that guy was. Was it Brian Brown or something like that?
Sounds
and then,
right.
They deal with injuries with Embiid, so they didn't have a good couple of years there. Then, you bring in Doc Rivers. And Doc Rivers he's a turnkey guy. He don't have time to develop. So I think that, that kind of put, him in a tough situation. But being traded to Brooklyn, he's going there with another point guard in Steve Nash, who's young, innovative, and going to develop Ben Simmons and the player that he needs to be. And then he's going to have help with veterans such as Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant to, help him along the way get better. So I think Brooklyn in the long run will get the better of that deal. I want to see how Harden and Embiid is going to coexist, up in Philly. It sounds good, but when that ball start to get handed out and Harden just chucking up, we're gonna see what Embiid has to say about that.
Yeah, and talking about down the road for Brooklyn, I mean, it doesn't hurt too that not only did they get Simmons, who, I mean, he's a hell of a player, but didn't they get 2 firsts and a second as well thrown into that deal? I think
like they got the 2 firsts. I thought Philly was looking for the 2 firsts, but Brooklyn ended up getting the 2 firsts. That was kind of strange. They did all of that to do that, and I think they could have had better offers earlier in the season. They had better offers to move him, but I guess they, the window got too small, and it was just to the point, just you better take this deal or don't get no deal, and that's what they were stuck with. But to give up 2, and he was looking for 2 with his star player, that's head scratching to me right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Brooklyn definitely got the better of that deal for sure.
Are you a baseball guy at all? Do you like baseball? Do you follow it? You got a team?
Yeah, I follow baseball. They need to get back in the swing of things because, I mean, come on now. You know what I mean? What are they doing, Commissioner?
Don't look at me. Yeah, I hope they get things worked out. I feel like they're making strides, but and not like we're going to see, who knows? Maybe we will. I mean, Canada's so screwed up right now. We might still see the Blue Jays again in Buffalo. Like the Buffalo Blue Jays might be a thing again. COVID numbers are shooting down, thank God. But man, the way Canada is and all the, holy cow, like they might not allow anything. Like there's no fans at the hockey games in Canada right now. Like,
right. It's no fans at all at the basketball games neither.
Right.
In Toronto. So yeah, they might come back. I had an opportunity to cover the Blue Jays while he was here and go to a handful of the games. It was not like it, man. The way they tweaked the stadium to get it, MLB ready. I think that was pretty cool. And they had the Yankees coming there. I had to come see my Yankees, man. I'm a Yankees guy. I know you're a Boston guy with all that.
I am not a Boston guy. I'm actually a Dodger guy, believe it or not. But
okay, Kershaw on those boys, Mookie bats and them.
Yeah. But so I've been a Dodger guy since, I mean, 76, 77, dude. I'll date myself. You go back to Garvey, Lopes, Russell Say, Yeager, Dusty Baker, Reggie Smith, the center fielder, I'll forget his name. Damn it. And then, Bert Happy Hooten and Don Sutton and those guys, Joe Ferguson, I mean, Lasorda. So I'm a Dodger guy from way back. So I am not a bandwagon guy at all. But to your point about the Yankees coming here, I happened to be at one of those Yankee games too when there were no fans. And man, what a hell of a job they did, like you said, with the stadium to make it MLB worthy. And just to see, now the game I went to, I was really bummed out because Judge didn't play and Stanton didn't play. So I was like, oh man, I mean, like those are the 2 guys you want to see hit. The long balls that everybody else was hitting out of that ballpark when the Blue Jays were there. Can you imagine the damage load? I mean, those 2 guys, Aaron Judge would have hit a ball out of the roof of KeyBank Center, and Giancarlo Stanton, Mike Stanton, he would have, who knows where he would have hit that one out. He would have hit the Chefs probably. Michigan from home plate, those guys can hit the big bombs.
Car bones or something like that.
Right.
South Park Avenue,
holy
right?
cow. But yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
And
they love playing at that stadium because it's going to be a lot of home runs in that park, boy.
Heck yeah, man. Anything else you want to talk about that I missed out, man?
I think you covered everything. We got Super Bowl. You got NBA coming up. All-Star Weekend is upon us now. So now I guess we can start really seeing who's serious on making this playoff push and, start playing some basketball because, the first half of the NBA season really don't mean anything. It's just a formality and those guys go through things. So I want to see how urgency the Lakers are going to play now. Do we expect some winning streaks coming from the Lakers once everybody is healthy? I do feel that Westbrook need to come off the bench. They need to start Carmelo once he comes back off his hamstring deal. They need to get some continuity or just fire the damn coach. Like, what is they doing? Like, what are they waiting on to fire Vogel? Get rid of the guy. He's losing you ball games. And, you don't want that to, come back to haunt you, during the second half stretch. And if you need a few games to make the playoffs and then you don't get in because of a bad coaching decision, then they're definitely going to get rid of him. But I think the Lakers make start playing as a star player allows them to play. During after All-Star break, everybody pretty much turns it up a notch. So we're going to see who's going to turn it up. Do Philly turn it up a notch and maintain? Does Victor Oladipo gets better and Miami gets in a run, because Miami is still at the top right now without that guy even playing. What do the Charlotte Hornets do? Do they make a playoff push, being the ninth seed right now? So those are some of the things that you want to see. You definitely want to see what's going to happen with Brooklyn with Ben Simmons, how they're going to match, how Harden and Embiid is going to match. Guy that we're not talking about is Tobias Harris. Now, from being the number 2 guy, he becomes the number 3 guy. So
Right.
how is he going to deal with that? So a lot of things to.
Any other team you want to mention while we're talking about this? I'm going to give you a chance.
I'm missing the team.
Well, I think so. I mean, you talked about
The Celtics, right?
No. You missed the defending champs.
True. The Milwaukee. I mean, Milwaukee is Milwaukee, man. I mean, you got Giannis out there,
Right?
Unstoppable. So I mean, they're going to be there at the end of the day. We know Milwaukee's going to be there. We know Phoenix is going to be there at the end of the day. Who's going to join the party with them? That's the thing. You know what I mean? That's what you want to see up. I mean, how about Cleveland though? How about the way Cleveland's playing? Cleveland is up there amongst the top too, and nobody's really talking about how Cleveland's playing. And they're hosting the All-Star game, for crying out loud. So, no prima donnas out there on the floor, and they're pretty much at the top of the Eastern Conference. The Knicks, 12th seed right now. So what in the hell are the New York Knicks doing?
And we didn't mention the Warriors.
Didn't mention the Warriors.
Yeah,
They're going to come out and play the second half. So we'll see who's going to turn it up a notch after this All-Star break. Hockey, our Sabres won. Finally.
Right.
They show me a mark of a young team. That young team that don't know how to close out ball games. They be winning. They be in it to win it every single damn night, but just find a way to lose the game. And as weird as it may sound, that's a mark of a good team, because next year when they get all their dogs, when they have another year under Granado's belt and everybody's familiar with everything, then you're going to see them winning those close ball games. You're going to see them knowing how to close out ball games when they have a lead. So that, to me, that's a mark of a good team. I know this year it wasn't going to be, I wasn't expecting the Sabres to be good at all. Let's be perfectly clear. I wasn't expecting them to be this good, to the point where they are in ball games with some of the best teams. They just finding a way to lose it in the third period. I don't know if they got the line messed up or it was some strange way. We need a goalie. I know that for sure. We need to go draft a dog-ass goalie.
That's right.
Because we're going to have the talent, on the ice. We just need a dog-ass goalie to, get some shutouts out here, man.
Well, and keep in mind, anytime you watch hockey, especially when it comes to the Stanley Cup, it's always the winning goalie that people point to, right? Goalies become superstars in the Stanley Cup playoffs, especially when they carry their teams through and win the cup. So the Sabres aren't even close to having that right now, unfortunately, and that's what they need to do. But the other thing, to your point, Muki, that I love what you said, is that not only are these guys going to have gone through this together, but I think one thing that's been a big problem for this team over the last couple of years has been the coach, obviously Kruger prior, maybe a little bit of Donnie last year because he just really was picking it up. He was just trying to put this broken vase back together. And so you can't really blame him for last year. But over the last 2 years, nobody really knew. There was not a lot of comfortability in terms of lines because the lines seemed to be different almost every night. Now it seems like Don Granado understands who he's got, who he's going to have, what their strengths and weaknesses are. That's what he kind of prides himself on talking about, is we like to go with guys' strengths, not their weaknesses. We like to, promote their strengths. So I think he has a really good idea about his roster now and what it will be a year from now, based on some of the call-ups from Rochester and how they've sort of meshed. And next year, they're going to be able to go into the season kind of having a really good idea of who's going to play with who, build that chemistry early, and hopefully with a really good goaltender, make a little bit better of a push and end what's going to be the longest playoff drought in sports history, sadly.
Yeah, man, we got to start ending these damn droughts. The Bills will play 17-year drought. Now the Sabres, man, like what the hell was going on? So I think they're headed in the right direction. They got the right guys. up in the front office, I think, way better than what they had in the Kruger era. I mean, Kruger was like my great uncle trying to, just not relating to the guys. You got a 65-year-old coach and everybody on your team is like 20, 25. Like, how can I get motivated? And they brought him to be a motivator, for crying out loud. How is my great uncle going to motivate me to go out there on the ice and kick some ass? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not going to happen. My great uncle is not going to motivate me to go out there and kick somebody ass. That's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? And he's not an X and O guy. So that was just like the biggest thing with me. So what does he do good that going to help this team? Obviously, it didn't help him now a bit. They end up bringing in Granado, a younger guy. He can light a fire in those guys. They speak his language, and he does do a good job with X's and O's. They just gotta learn how to close out the ball game. Yeah. And I think that's going to translate next season. It's just like how the Bills were last year when everybody made a big sneak on. You lost 6 games that was under 7 points or less this year than the year before you did it. What was the difference? It's the same thing. You know what I mean? So, hopefully, once I say when you get Owen Power and all the rest of those guys back and, they kicking on all cylinders and they can go and get a dog-ass goalie, the Sabres will be, one of those teams that you want to look out for. Yeah. You know what I mean? But they are in one hell of a tough division. I mean, you got Tampa, you got Florida. I mean, geez Louise, they need to fix that.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you going to watch, Eichel tomorrow night?
Of course I'm going to watch my guy. I'm going to watch him, man. And the thing about that too, you didn't bring any guy that was close to Eichel, you got rid of. You know what I mean? Like, you want to keep your franchise guy comfortable. Like, you don't want to, get rid of all the guys that he's close to. Like, he's not going to want to play. Like, the guy was depressed here. Like, I interviewed him, and he just seemed like he was just depressed about everything. Like, I'm like, come on, you was way too young to do that. And I think they put too much pressure on him, too, coming in. Like, I said this before Washington won that damn Stanley Cup. I said, now is the time you go make a move. You get Ovechkin, because, I don't want to say he was at the end of his career, but his contract was up. So you bring in a guy like Ovechkin, somebody that's going to push, Eichel, somebody that's going to light a fire and say, hey, do your job or I'm going to kick your ass, but I'm not going to let anybody else mess with you. You know what I mean? That's the type of guy that Eichel need. He need that bully around him to say, hey, don't worry about nobody out here. Nobody's going to mess with you, but I need you to, do your job, or guess what? I'm going to kick your ass. Okay. So he didn't have that here in Buffalo. He's going to have that out there in Vegas. I think he's going to do quite well. I think it was, I think the Sabres and Vegas both won on that trade. It was a win-win for everybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? Go figure. You know what I mean? Let the guy go. If he's unhappy with it, his back or his neck or whatever the case may be, let him go ahead and do what he's going to do. Now it's all about him, owning up his keep and figuring out was the surgery a good deal for him. Because now he got to play up into his draft potential in Vegas. His era in time in Buffalo.
Yeah, I think, you mentioned the Caps. I think I would have rather had Tom Wilson come here and beat the crap out of him than Ovechkin. I don't think Ovechkin's a very good fighter. I don't think he's super tough.
Right. I mean, Tom bring Wilson him in. But let's get that guy in. We need some toughness out there. I was tired of having little guys on the ice skating around. We need some big guys that's gonna, push their weight around out there. We got all these little fat guys. We don't have Briers and those guys no more, right? Like, we got to get some dogs out there that mean business. Somebody that's gonna pose some fear out there on the ice, and bringing in Mr. Power at 6'5", that's definitely is a tower of a guy that, that can play some hockey. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to bring to the table next year.
Yeah, I don't know that much about the toughness part of his game. I know he's mad skilled at pretty much everything a hockey player needs to be, especially at his position. I don't know what kind of toughness he brings. Like, if he's a guy that's going to scrap, if he's a guy that's going to drill people and throw his weight around. I hope he is, because I think we have plenty of finesse defensemen where I think I would love to see a more of a bruising defenseman on the back end. I know hockey is now maybe the most finesse it's ever been. So yeah, you need a skill player, which he is, but can he bring not only that, but does he have that package where he can be a tough guy and kind of have guys' backs? That remains to be seen, but that's hope, right?
Right.
Dude, you're the man. Great seeing you again, as always, on this edition of Muki and the Bull in the Basement. Let's plan on doing it again next week.
You betcha, my guy. Appreciate you having me in the basement.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Have a good week.